Warm greetings to you from Silver Bay. I hope you are well and warm and feeling cared for and loved wherever you may be. And thank you for being a part of what we're doing here at Silver Bay. My name is Bruce Tamlyn, and I recently retired from my position as chaplain at Silver Bay. And I'm grateful that Silver Bay has invited me back in a very limited part-time way to offer programs like this one. Today I'm in the library of Trinity House on the campus of Silver Bay, and with me is Austin Porth, Silver Bay's digital marketing and media specialist, who is filming our program. Thank you, Austin. Today is the first in a series of offerings that are part of a program called Inside Silver Bay. This series of programs I will offer twice a month, and it will air at different times of the month. But each program will be between about 20 and 30 minutes. But before I get into the specific of today's program, I would like us to begin with a short centering experience. So let me suggest you find a comfortable chair to sit and relax in, and I'm going to slip over to this chair here in the library, and we'll just do a simple centering exercise for us before we start today. So I hope you're sitting in a comfortable chair somewhere in your home or where you live, and what I would just suggest first off is just close our eyes and allow ourselves to feel the support of the chair. And that we can begin to, starting with our feet, just move up through our body to see where we might be holding any tension. And as we feel the support of the chair, we can lean back and allow our body just to relax and to come to a place of calm and inner peace. And I would just ask us for a moment to just follow our breath. And as we inhale, we feel our breath coming into our body. And then as we exhale, we would just say a word maybe like peace or joy or love. Pick a word that just works for you. And then as you exhale, in your mind's eye, you would just repeat that word. And so we'll just do this for a couple of minutes. So we would breathe in, and as we breathe out and exhale, we would say our word. And as we inhale and exhale, we would feel our body and our minds just relaxing, coming to a centered place, a place of calm, where we can let go of stress and anxiety. So let us return, and we can begin to talk about what I had planned to speak about today, but just that short little exercise of sort of centering ourselves and feeling an inner sense of peace, maybe something that you might want to do from time to time, just to feel the beauty of the silence, the beauty of the presence of a calm and peaceful way of being. So thank you for joining me in that. So what I'd like to talk about today is, this is the first of a number of sessions, actually 2 a month over the next 10 months. So that would be 20 sessions altogether. And the idea of what I'd like to talk about here in this series, and the title of the series is what I've written here, is Making the Most of This Precious Life. Making the most of this precious life. And that's the overall theme of all these 20 sessions over the next 10 months. And we'll keep kind of coming back to that, but this is what we're attempting to sort of talk about and be aware of. And so let me take a few minutes and speak of sort of the goal of this, why we want to be doing this. And so this session today is really sort of an introductory session to all of the next sessions. And so to speak about this idea of making the most of this precious life, truly our life is a gift. We've been given this remarkable gift of life. And this gift of life is such a precious gift. And that I'm hoping in these sessions together, we can develop a greater appreciation and a real gratitude for our life, and how we might even enhance our life and make our life better. So this idea of making the most of this gift we've been given is to really be in touch with the marvelous, magnificent miracle of living this life and living this life to the fullest. In the good book, you'll remember this line, I know, and it says, "I have come that they might have life and have it more abundantly." This abundant life, it's a great term, this abundant life. What is the abundant life about? Well, let me share a few thoughts about it. First, I think the abundant life is being present to the beauty of our life. Our life has real beauty in it. Here, of course, at Silver Bay, as I look out the window, the beauty of the lake. But wherever we are, there's beauty around us. And the idea is that we see beauty around us when we know and can feel the beauty that's within us. And we're going to talk more about that concept in our next session. But this idea of this abundant life, it's sort of a deep inner knowing, a sense of deep contentment, an inner sense of calm, an awareness of the deep inner joy that we can hold in our hearts that way. It's an emotionally healthy way of moving through our day, a kind of a groundedness, a centeredness about us. Working towards this idea of understanding our life as precious, we have a greater sense of self-awareness, a kind of an emotional awareness and an emotional intelligence about us that allows us to do some inner work to really feel the beauty of our lives. And I think the ultimate goal of all of this work is to grow in our capacity to love ourselves and to love others. another way of thinking about it is that to be aware of who that we are and the impact we're having on others in our life that way. To allow ourselves to be loved by others, to let love in, to feel worthy to receive the love of others. This is where we're going with this program. Again, in the good book, it says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. I think that concept of loving our neighbor as we love ourselves is so important for us in embracing the beauty of our life. And the goal of the program in so many ways is to become our best selves, to become more the women and the men that we've been created to be. And another line in the good book, it comes from the subtitle, Fruits of the Spirit. And the fruits of the Spirit, as described, are love and joy and patience and kindness and generosity, faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. These fruits of the Spirit offer us a way of being in the world, kind of a goal to work towards as we continue to make the most of this precious life we've been given. In some ways, I think about these fruits of the Spirit as we continue to grow into and are on this journey to become our truest selves, to become, again, the men and women we were designed to become. And all of us are on this journey. And this journey is such a beautiful journey to be on. It goes on throughout our life. There's no real arrival. We just deepen and deepen and deepen in our capacity to love and to be loved. So the second part I'd like to talk about here is what's the format of these 20 sessions. And the format will basically be the same each time. Be welcoming people, and then a little centering exercise like we did a few minutes ago to kind of ground us so we can be open to the material. And then another part of the sort of opening format is to sort of prepare our hearts and minds to be open to do the inner work that we're called to do to grow in our life, to prepare our hearts and minds to be open to receive. That's sort of that part of the format. And then we'll have sort of a topic to talk about, and I'll have a topic a little bit later today to talk about, and then we'll develop that topic, and then after that topic we'll have a closing opportunity. So that's basically the format of each of these sessions. Now, I'd like to also comment on the content of the sessions. We're going to be drawing on key concepts from the study of theology, the study of psychology, and the study of sociology. That'll sort of frame, and the way I frame this is to think about taking the best of theology, the best of psychology, and the best of sociology. And we'll be utilizing the thoughts and concepts from great wisdom teachers, some of them from 2,000 years ago to more modern day thought and wisdom teachers. But we'll be drawing on the work of truly, I think, those that have provided for us a foundation to be living this precious life. We will also use stories, and we'll use some books. We'll use writings. We might even use music from time to time. But we'll draw from a number of different mediums to help us sort of look at this idea of making the most of this precious life. Let me also talk about some of the topics we'll address over these next months. And there's a number of them here, and we'll sort of play these out as it seems right, as they sort of connect with one another, but we'll talk about doing inner work in our life. We'll talk about healthy boundaries, creating healthy boundaries. We'll talk about an emotional intelligence of deepening in our awareness of our impact. We'll talk about childhood wounds and how childhood wounds may affect our adult life today. We'll talk about dreams and the role that dreams play in understanding the beauty of our life. We'll do some shadow work and talk about shadow work. We'll talk about the concept of duality versus non-dual thinking. We'll talk about forgiveness. We'll talk about conflict. We'll talk about passive aggressiveness. We'll talk about gratitude and generosity, dealing with conflict. We'll talk about the psychology of joy. And we'll introduce other topics that may be helpful for us that way. And I would encourage you to, if you'd like to share some feedback of what we're doing here. And that's why I put up my email address, brucetamlyn@gmail.com. So if you'd like to share some feedback or some reflections or thoughts you have, or topics that you would like to address, that you would like us to address, we'd be glad to consider that. So we would enjoy hearing from you. So this is the overview of this series. And again, over these next 10 months, sort of playing out these different topics. And each session will have a key topic that we will address. That way, that'll help support us on this journey of making the most of this precious life. And I don't care, it doesn't make any difference if we're 15 years old, or 20 years old, or 30 years old, or 40, or 50, or 70, or 90. You know what? We're living this life, and the opportunity to continue to grow into the women and men we've been called to be can happen at any point in our life. And so I hope that you feel comfortable to be on this journey, regardless where you are in your life, that way. And so I'd like to close this session with just two stories that I'd like to share. The first one is a kind of a real experience for me. It's something that I've experienced, and I've turned it into a story. But I call it the nursing home story. And so over the years, I've had the opportunity to visit people in nursing homes. And I find it to be just really a rich experience to sit down and talk with somebody in a nursing home about their life experience. And I'll often ask them questions like, well, tell me about something that really special in your life, was really special in your life. Or I'll say, what's some memories you have that are really, that stand out for you that you'd like to share? And I always hear these fascinating stories. So, and I have had this exact experience where I will ask at the desk or the nurse's station or one of the people that work in the staff and say, you know, who hasn't had a visit in a while, or who doesn't have somebody come often to see them? And they'll say, oh, well, Mrs. Jones or Mr. Johnson or whatever, and they'll point out a few people, and I'll try to visit them. And I had this one experience where I went into a person's room, and I sat down and I said, introduce myself. I actually asked one of the staff members to come in with me to kind of introduce me so the person feels comfortable with who's coming into the room. But once that happens, then I sit down, and in this instance, I sat down and I said, oh, my name is Bruce Tamlyn, and I work as the chaplain at Silver Bay, and how are you? I said to this one woman, and she goes, oh, it's dreadful. I'm dreadful. Oh, I said, oh, what's wrong? Oh, this place is dreadful. The food is just horrid, and you can see this room is so small, and this is just such a not pleasant experience for me at all. And I listened, and I tried to support her as best I could, and I tried to sort of cheer her up and as best I could. But in the end, I must say, and I said a prayer for her, that she was just not very happy there and not very happy in general, and I think was having a difficult time. And I don't judge that, but that was the experience that I had with her. And then I went to another room, And I sat down with a person there, and I said, and how are you? I am wonderful. I am so grateful to be here. The staff are so friendly. I feel like I can just enjoy my day, the opportunity. Look at this beautiful room that I'm in. I am so grateful and blessed to be in this place. And I said, oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And we went on for a nice conversation. And I was struck as I left the nursing home that day that here are two people, the same room, the same size room, same food, same staff, same everything. And one of them was having just a horrid time, and the other one was having just the time of their life. And I thought, golly, I wonder what's the difference there? Why? And I don't mean this in any judgmental way, but I think one of the persons there, the second one, had done some more inner work about coming to understand the beauty and the preciousness of their life, and had really done some good inner work, and was really comfortable with themselves, and in being comfortable with themselves were comfortable with their surrounding and their life. And one of them hadn't done that work. And so the reason I share that story with you is that my hope in terms of this series is that as we age through our life, we might be that second person, and that we could really come to enjoy this precious life that we've been given, and that every day is another gift of the opportunity to live out our life with a deep inner sense of joy, a deep inner sense of contentment, and a deep inner sense of love for self and others. So that's what the series is about. And I'd also like to share one of my favorite stories. And this story comes from Father Henry Nouwen, Catholic priest who passed away a number of years ago, but a prolific writer, wrote many books. And many of us, when in seminary, we would read our seminary books, but we would be reading Henry Nouwen on the side because he was so inspirational for us that way. But Henry, in one of his books, tells this story. He's sitting with his spiritual director. He's living at the Genesy Diary. Living at the Genesy Monastery. The story I take this out of is the book called The Genesy Diary. And he's sitting with the spiritual director, a fellow by the name John Eudes Bamberger. And as he's sitting with him in his chance to do his own spiritual direction work, he says to Father Bamberger, and he's kind of pounding on his chair, how does one live for the glory of God? How does one live for the glory of God? And Henry was kind of fastidious. I had a chance to take a course with him years ago in Boston, and I could see him, and I had a chance to meet him and chat with him. So I could see him doing this. How does one live for the glory of God? And John Eudes Bamberger just quietly listened and then said back to him, Henry, it's not about living for the glory of God. It's about making true your deepest self. It's not about living for the glory of God. It's about making true your deepest self. And I just love that story. I read that story some years ago, and the reason the story I think is so impactful for me and maybe for you is that the idea is that making true our deepest self is coming to understand this precious life is about living and understanding the glory of God. And so I tell that story as a beginning part of this series to encourage us to know that as we deepen to become our truest self, our most loving, our most whole, our most content, our most joy-filled self, we're coming to appreciate this life that we've been given as this gift that it is. So those are the two stories that I would like to leave with you today. I would also just encourage you as I close here to be gentle with yourself as we talk about these things. meaning that, you know what, if you're not as peaceful as you think you might want to be, or not as calm, or you find yourself being anxious a lot, or be gentle with yourself. Don't judge yourself on this. We're all dealing with things. We're all on a journey. And the idea of this series is to encourage us on the journey, that we might be more peaceful, more gentle, more whole. And as I stand up in front of you and do this, please know that you may experience me here today as peaceful and joyful and whole, but I have my moments too. You can just ask my wife, she'll tell you. My dear wife, Sarah. So again, please be gentle with yourself in all of this, and know that you are loved more than you can imagine by a loving God who forgives and shows mercy and shows grace for us that way, that we are loved on this journey. And it says, as it says in the good book, I will be with you to the end of the age. And we can count on that. So again, be gentle with yourself in all of this as we journey together through this series. So the closing ritual that I would like to do goes like this. So I'd ask you to just hold your left hand out in front of you and take a look at that left hand for a minute. And this left hand represents sort of who you are and where you are in life. It represents sort of where you are now and how you're experiencing life, and some of the challenges and some of the good things and some of the stuff you're struggling with and some of the things you're grateful for, and just it represents where you are. And then hold out your right hand for a minute, and this represents maybe how you would like to grow, how you'd like to deepen, how you'd like to learn, how you'd like to be more loving, how you might want to be more joyful that way. And so we have these two places. And what this series is about closing this gap between where we are today and where we think we would like to grow into be. And so we close the gap and we just make a sign and come to a sense of peace and joy and an internal place of knowing that we are loved. So thank you for being part of this first session. We look forward to future sessions together, and I hope we can be together again soon. Thank you.